Hello and welcome to Be Kind Rewinder. I'm your host Lex Sluddy, joined by Rewinder's managing editor Scott McRae. Scott, we're staying up well past our bedtime because Dad's out sick. So we're staying up all night, and we are joined by a very special guest, ex-Inverse writer, freelance journalist extraordinaire, Jess Reyes. Jess, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. Just got back from my new internship, so I'm on a roll today.
Yeah, you're busy. You're doing the computer science stuff, and you have a real job where you make actual money at some point.
Yeah, for now.
For now. Um, Scott, we should probably address we're down our normal podcast co-host. Poor Henry, taken by a pack of hyenas. It's really
Literally
tragic.
the second show and we've already fucked up.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, we
He
were
died.
like, "Oh, we'll keep the format for a few weeks, get used to each other," and then Henry's like, "Nah, I'm too
Nah,
good for you."
I'm gonna have emergency tooth surgery just to fuck with you all.
They took all of his teeth. It was fucked up.
Yeah, yeah. They're just gonna put dentures in there now. It's a real Dan Reichert situation. Anyway, on this episode, we'll discuss old games, new games, and cancelled games. But first, before we get into things, I want to talk a little bit about Jess, your time in Japan. You were in Japan recently. Were you there for holidays, or were you there for work, or what was going on?
Oh, so actually my sister's going to school there right now, so my mom took us on a trip there. So I didn't need to pay for it because she had like miles or something like that, so I went with her. Um and while I was there, like I've been there a couple of times now. I went there study abroad, and I've traveled there in the past with friends just because um I do know a little bit of Japanese, and I like being there in general because I really like J fashion and exploring the culture. So it is, I don't know what time it is now. It's probably like my sixth time there. Um, Lots of shopping, and then it's my boyfriend's first time going too. So I took him around. Uh, One of the favorite things I did was I took him to the Nara Park, which is, if you've heard of
I think I
the
saw this on
Japanese
your
deer.
Instagram. Yeah, I saw that. This looked so cute.
They are very cute, but they're also kind of evil. Like whenever I go, I like going just to see how people react to them. They are very hungry if you go there in the morning, and they'll try to bite anything that's hanging off your bags. They might try biting you. My boyfriend did get bitten. I told him to run, but then he didn't.
He still has to learn. He hasn't been there enough. I'm curious. I'm visiting Japan in September. Is there any like highlight things that you would recommend I should really check out that you might not normally think of doing going to Japan for your first time?
Video game tour? Like for example, actually one of my first times I went there, Um, The World Ends With You is the first game I played that was based in Shibuya, the district in Tokyo. I actually used my Nintendo DS as a map to see if I could find all the landmarks, and it was actually so on point that I was able to.
Awesome. That's so cool. I basically have like a guided tour for when I go over there because I'm going to be staying with Alicia Haddock. Um,
Oh,
Yeah,
nice.
and they were just like, listen, I'll just like show you around. And so I'm just like, listen, you know where the food places are, you know where everything is. I'm just gonna follow your lead. And you can use me as an excuse to go and do things that you wouldn't normally do, like go do the tourist attractions and stuff. So I'm going the 2 weeks before TGS, and then I'll also be there for TGS. So I'm
Are
like
you
super
going
excited.
to Camarocho or whatever the real name for it is? Are you doing it?
I want to. Like
Are you gonna get that photo?
I'm gonna have downtime. I'm gonna because like I'm there for like 14 days before I have any work to do. So like I will have time to do stuff. We're looking at going to Universal, which I think is in Kyoto, and then we're looking at going to the Nintendo Museum, which is in Osaka. so we are going to be doing some traveling around. But like, I'm looking forward to that. I haven't traveled around in the country before. I told myself I'd like start learning little bits of Japanese before I went, and then we decided to start a website. So I've kind of
Yeah.
that has gone on the back burner. But hey,
Well, that mind's eye research, really, that was
the important stuff, the important stuff. So I'm a little bit behind on the things that I want to do in that regard, but I'll get there. Speaking of Japanese culture and J fashion, we should move on to the games. Jess, I want to hear you talk about Infinity Nikki because I've watched people play Infinity Nikki. You seem to be the person who I imagine is like the best expert in this. What? Because I still don't know. What is Infinity Nikki? What do you do in it?
Well, basically, it's like Disney Prince, like the premise I gave in the beginning was Disney Princess Genshin, because it's like you dress up your character, but it's very open world. You solve puzzles, you collect things. There's actually not really any fighting. It's purification. So it's not really like you're chaining together attacks or trying to maximize damage. It's not that kind of game. It's supposed to be very chill. Um, I played it since launch, and I did previews for it before. Um, the latest update 1.5 was about a month ago. I actually haven't been playing it as much since then because that update was like kind of like a dumpster fire. But um, basically all my J fashion friends, they like making the different outfits. They also introduced a new dyeing feature, so it's like you can change the colors of the outfits that you do have.
I totally thought it was a different kind of
yeah.
dying.
I had the
was
same
like,
thing.
I was like, holy shit, this game got serious.
So I've heard some things about Nikki the series from PC Gamers Molly Taylor, because when they announced that
Oh.
Infinity Nikki, she gave me the whole lore dump about how I believe she was drunk at the time, about how they fight wars through fashion and no one kills each other. But apparently in the lore somewhere, one guy finally kills someone, and it's like the biggest deal on the planet. I don't know if that's covered in Infinity Nikki, but
Sure, if like anyone is explicitly dead in Infinity Nikki. I don't think so yet because um
You,
well, also the new
Jess,
update did a retcon. What?
Jess, you know what they say? Fashion comes and goes, but
Oh, but they
style,
do.
never dies.
Yes, I
Got
think
it. Nailed it.
oh. But yeah, there's actually style duels, and they like do weird dance moves as they like show off their outfits and shit. Um, because like the amount of the outfits that you get, you could get score points with it, and these styling duels, which is basically just based on the rarity of your item and how much you've leveled it up. So, that is something that you do there. For this styling challenges, whenever you get to the leader of a particular group, that's when it starts getting like, choreographed.
So you play way more gacha games than most people I know, because you've also been on the MiHoYo beat at different times in your career. What is it like balancing multiple ones of those games? Because I see that Honkai Star Rail is one of the other games that you have down here as something that you've been tipping away at.
Oh, I mean, like, there's no way you could keep up with all of them at once.
Yeah.
Like I feel like you pick two max and you just do that. Um, it used to be Genshin and Honkai for me, and then it became Honkai and Infinity Nikki. I'm thinking about replacing Infinity Nikki with Wuwa though, because I've wanted to go back to it for a while. I just haven't gotten the time to dig into it though.
Is that
Honkai Star Rail has been doing.
is that Wuthering Waves?
Yes,
Oh,
yes, it
okay.
is.
Yeah. And
Um,
do you think you'll try out what's it called? It's coming out in like 2 weeks' time. Persona 5, the Phantom, or the Phantom X. That's it. The Persona 5 one.
sure yet, just because I feel like I like Persona, but the spin-off games are kind of hit or miss for me.
Yeah.
Like for example, I didn't like Tactica, even though a lot of people were like, but it's surprisingly deep. And I'm just like, No, it's not. At least not for
Um,
me.
we have a feature going up tomorrow as we're recording this, but it will probably be the same day when it goes live. Henry Stockdale wrote about the DLC for Tactica. Did you ever play the DLC for it?
I didn't. Why is it like
It
surprisingly good?
it's way more. It basically feels like what the end game combat should have been because they introduce a whole new
Um.
mechanic, and the mechanic is basically Splatoon paint, where if you're in
Oh.
it's like a whole thing where it's going into this different like art worlds and these different palaces that are inspired by Ash, and then the enemy have a paint color and you have a paint color, and if you spread tiles to be your paint color, you get bonuses in that paint color when you then do an action in there, and it adds like a level of depth that the main game feels like it's missing. I that DLC is really interesting if you've never played it, and it goes on
I
sale a bunch.
I never played it, but
Okay.
mainly because I find Akechi to be the most just dog ass annoying
Wow,
character,
wow,
and I
rude.
just don't want to. I just don't want to see him. I
So
just cannot.
He actually isn't in that DLC at all, which is kind of weird since he's the
What
artist character. It's it's the girl
is
from uh,
Umi?
yes, it's the girl from Persona 5 Royal, the one who they added for that game, and it is
Interesting.
what's his name, the antagonist foil guy, um who
Oh, the
Uh,
guy. I
yeah,
believe that's a kind of big spoiler, but it's the guy. Yeah,
yeah, the guy who
okay.
everyone ships with the main character. um
I
Okay.
yeah.
I keep mixing that and is it Strikers it was called? I keep mixing them in my head because both of them are the same kind of thing where it's like here's two new characters, the
Yeah.
young girl and the old guy, and they've kind of mixed together in my head. But
Strikers is the Muso game, and I wasn't a
yeah,
fan of Strikers.
I to kind of go back to what Jess was saying, I think the Persona spin-offs have gotten a lot better with five, but yeah, I kind of feel what you're saying about like
Yeah. I mean, like, I didn't think the gameplay was bad. It's just that I feel like a big part of Persona 5 was that I liked the story,
Yeah,
and I feel like it goes kind of deep in on that with a character development story. And I'm just like Tactica is just gameplay for me. Um, it's kind of like the Teen Titans Go of Persona 5. That's
yeah.
how I felt about it.
I am I find the SMT spin-offs more interesting than some of the mainline SMT games because I've been playing bits and pieces of Devil Summoner for the PS2, the one that they're remaking. And that game's fucking
Mhm.
weird. That game's so weird. The main villain is Rasputin, just like actual historical figure Rasputin, who apparently didn't die and moved to Japan instead and is now doing Devil Summoner stuff. And
what
like,
happened? Why
you're right, you're right. I should just add that to the Wikipedia because the fact that it's not in there is a pretty big oversight.
like
And
you're
that
gonna tell me that Hitler didn't actually appear in Japan at the end of Persona 2
you're right, you're totally right.
and then get his head blown up by the Bionic Commando in 1962 or whenever that game's set.
Um, but yeah, I'm looking forward to at least seeing what they do with Persona spin-offs. We'll talk more about Persona later in the episode. But I do think that Atlas are going to be doing more stuff with some of the older Persona characters with the news that we'll talk about. Um, Speaking of Japanese games, Scott, you've been playing something from one of maybe the most fun Japanese developers out there, Keita Takahashi. Let's talk about 2T. This game is delightful. I bought it last night. I played the first hour of it and I was like smiling ear to ear for the whole thing.
So this is gonna sound like a bit of a. I don't mean to dismiss these types of games, but I'm kind of not usually like a big the game where you don't really play like it's not a big gameplay game, like a story kind of adventure game kind of
A
thing.
narrative
Yeah,
adventure.
they're
Yeah.
not really my kind of thing, and I kind of find them a bit dull at times. But then the second Keita Takahashi puts out one, I'm like, yeah, this is my fucking jam. I think I wrote it in the review, but I don't actually remember anything about how Watam plays. I just remember really liking Watam,
I
and I
mean,
feel like
Watam is more of a like experience and toy than it is a video
yeah,
game. It's not.
what I
Yeah,
believe I described it as Coco Melon esque, and the review. But yeah, to a T is just it's another delightful little game from him where even if it's not got the most going on, like it's not an arcadey kind of thing like Katamari, it's got you know all the stuff you want, and it's only 5 hours, so I can handle it in that way. But it's just even when that game is really predictable, as in like what the moral of that story is by the time you boot it up, I still find myself very like delighted and
Yeah.
kind of
I mean,
taken
like
aback by like almost everything it does.
the opening song is literally like, "You are a perfect shape." Like it's very upfront in being like, no, this is the message of the story. I think it's really delightful. I really like the way that it presents that stuff. The way that it kind of just depicts the mundanity of like accessibility needs for this character is really sweet.
Mhm.
Um, and the way that they're just like, yeah, my mom made this. Isn't that cool? Like they're excited about these things that they've had made custom for them. And like that feels infectious. Like it feels like hanging out with a really good kid. Like not like a kid who's yelling and screaming and being an asshole. It's like, oh no, you're like a good kid, and I would be your friend if I was younger. It's really delightful. I'm super impressed by it. You wrote a review for the site, which people can go
Mhm.
check out. Um, I do have to ask, why are you playing Ace Combat Zero? Also, which one
Um,
is Ace Combat Zero?
Ace Combat Zero is the prequel, the one that came after 5, I want to
What
say.
platform was it on?
PlayStation 2.
Okay.
I pulled out my PlayStation 2 and my copy of Ace Combat Zero
Does
that I
this
have to
one
hand.
does this one also have a story that takes place within the
This
Strange
one
Reel?
fucking rips. Hell yeah.
Is it within the Strange Reel?
It's the Belkin War. It's
Okay.
all about the
Oh.
Belkins.
Jess,
This is
have you ever heard of the Strange Reel?
No, when I heard the Balkan War, I was like, "Oh, we're going historical fiction now?"
no, not the
No.
Balkans. It may sound like the Balkans, but it's not the Balkans. Believe
Oh, okay.
me.
The Strange Reel is Ace Combat's fictionalized history that it has. And it's fucking
Oh.
wild. It is
So this
so weird.
this is going to be my PSA. I'll stare directly at my camera. Ace Combat, it may be a stupid flight simulator game, but it's the most fucking anime ass game I have ever played in my all of them. It's just pure anime stupid, like just it's so
Like
dumb, it's so
it's
fun.
kind of wild because if you read the Wikipedia summaries of the stories, it's not like that much less preposterous than a Metal Gear. It is
Yeah, it's
Oh.
that
very
level of batshit is what you're dealing with when you play an Ace Combat story mode.
so Zero is specific it's kind of a prequel and it's like the same usual thing of you play as the best pilot, the one that everyone loves. But I probably won't go deep. Like those games feel so good to play. Like see the actual dogfighting, it's so satisfying, almost in like a kind of action game way. Like the final boss of that game, you're basically jousting with them because the only way you can break their plane because it has a special force field is shooting them right in the front. It is so dumb. But to kind of give the story its props, there is a mission in that game where you go to stop one of the Belkin planes that is holding a nuke in case they nuke your town. And in retaliation, the Belkans set off 7 nukes in their own country just for funsies. They were like, "You didn't win. We're going to nuke ourselves." And then, like a second group shows up, being like, "Actually, we want to nuke everything to restart it all. No more borders, no more." And it's like, this is Metal Gear, but it's also the fucking dumbest. Like Metal Gear has some form of cohesion at times, whereas this just feels like, okay, yeah, what if it'd be really cool if they did this? And it's the same in Seven, where like drones are somehow like the final boss of the world. Like they treat
Hmm.
drones like the worst thing on earth. Um, but yeah, I highly recommend the Ace combats, especially if you played Armored Core and really liked all the kind of setting up your
Your exact
um,
loadout and stuff.
yeah,
Yeah.
How'd you get
scratches a
into this
similar
again?
itch. Um, I played the newest one, Ace Combat 7 first. That's
I see.
um, and then I went back. Basically, I knew the soundtracks to these games, and the final boss theme of this is like a really, again, makes no sense. It's like a weird sci-fi war game, but also the final boss is like this Spanish flamenco like battle theme. It's beautiful,
You know,
but
flight simulator stuff, of
yeah,
course.
it fucking rips. But then, yeah, 7 also very good game. I can't remember anything stupid enough from that, but there is a lot of stupid
There's that
shit in that game.
JPEG of a dog that they use in
Yeah, the
cutscenes.
JPEG of a dog.
That's real good. Instead of like
Um,
actually like animating a dog or anything, they just use a JPEG of a
Cutscenes
dog
are
in
weird.
cutscenes.
Did either of you play Tekken 7's story mode?
No.
Did not.
All right, so it's about this weird narrator who's interviewing the Mishimas and all that, and he speaks like this, just the most monotone voice, and he speaks the whole time like this. And I swear it's the same guy they got to do Ace Combat like 10 years before. It's just this one guy narrating the story, and I'm like, I don't know who this is. I don't know who this is meant to be. And you get these weird like half live action, half CGI scenes of like a farmer talking about how like, oh yeah, that pilot, the best pilot ever. He's so cool, but also he killed all my students. But
Speaking of games with really good lore that make a lot of sense,
Donkey Kong.
yeah, why you have you have Mario Kart down here as one of the games you played. I've been playing a lot of Mario Kart Wii. Let's just say on my Wii.
Yeah. Same.
Yeah, definitely. You know, I set it up recently. You know, reset it up again.
Where is it? There we go.
Yeah.
I have a GameCube remote.
Yep.
Doesn't matter that it's USB connection.
Don't worry about it.
Don't think about it too much.
They did. It was a limited European release. You see, Jess. There was
Exactly.
USB GameCube controllers. It's
Actually,
very rare.
I did it on my Wii U and plugged take the Wii back.
Oh, Wii U.
Scott, now I don't believe you. Now I think you're lying.
Here's my Wii U tablet that was eaten by rats for some reason.
Oh, Jesus.
Rats.
Yeah, we had rats in the
I don't want to
loft
hear
at one
that
point.
story. And they went for the Wii U. Oh, that says something.
Yeah, they went for the Wii U for some reason. I pulled it down like months later, didn't notice they'd eaten the sticks.
Scott, why do you
That's
have and Diddy Kong in parentheses after Mario Kart here?
Alright, so basically I played like every single Mario Kart over the last like 2 weeks, and also not like fully. I've like jumped in and out of all. The only one I didn't play was 7. And then I played a
7's
bit of
pretty
Diddy Kong
good.
Racing today.
7's
7
fun.
is good. 7 is like the most forgettable, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, all it really has is the gliders in a lot of ways, and
There's
you know,
really good tracks in that, though.
yeah. If you're going back to Mario Kart Wii, some of that can feel very ho hum, but that's probably because you're not 5 and you're not using motion controls. But at the time when you were 5 and you were using motion controls, that shit was awesome.
So let's do it. I'm just gonna rip the band-aid off. Here's the official Mario Kart ranking, right?
Okay.
Okay. So right number top. Actually, we'll go from the bottom. Worst.
Yeah.
The first one sucks.
Oh yeah.
Anyone who loves the first one is like 50 years old and
technically
have not played
impressive.
Mario.
Mode 7 is a very cool piece of technology. It's cool that they did that with
F-Zero
an
was
SNES.
cooler.
Yeah, but F-Zero exists, so yeah, no, it's
yeah, no. The first game sucks. Second one, GBA,
Mhm.
not quite as bad. Still sucks. Anyone who puts Super Mario Kart over the GBA one though, what are you smoking? And from there it gets a bit harder. I'm almost inclined.
Which one's the one that introduced Rainbow Road?
It's been in all of them, but the first one I want to say had like 4 Rainbow Roads or something like that.
Interesting.
They had like
Okay.
5 scenes, and then like each of them got like 4 tracks. But for some reason, they keep bringing back fucking Mario Circuit from the SNES, which is in the new one as well. So I'm gonna say 7 next. Nothing wrong with it. Good game. Wii, DS, Wii U, Double Dash. I don't know if I forgot any.
You forgot.
Definitive.
Yeah. What about? So would you put Double Dash above the one that's on
Oh,
Switch?
64. Sorry.
Would you put Double Dash above the one that's on Switch? That is.
But, well, no,
that is
right. I'll tell you
bonkers.
what.
That is
I'll change
so.
mine.
That is your worst take.
Pre DLC, Double Dash. Post DLC, I can't really deny it anymore.
Double Dash, is that one the one on GameCube? I'm just
Yeah.
because okay, because at this point I'm trying to remember like which one is the one that I really played a lot, and I'm just like, I think it was the one on the GameCube, so I guess it was Double Dash.
Dash is so good. It still feels amazing. Like Something about the weight of that game feels incredible. Truthfully, until the booster course pack, I thought the Wii U version of Mario Kart 8 was better than the Switch version, mainly
What?
because the 2 items thing is a bit much at
Ah,
times,
that's
but
just a skill issue, Scott. That's clearly
I've
a
grown
skill
to
issue.
I just put Double Dash as my favorite. Let's not go there. It felt a bit weird at times, but I've grown to like it. But yeah, no, the booster course you can't really find
How
fault.
I wait, how old are you guys again? It's
Uh,
like
Scott
I'm
is
like
like
50 at this
yeah,
point.
Scott is 304 and I'm 24. So, you know.
okay, because I was just like, I feel like liking Double Dash more than this, which one sounds like a millennial thing.
I was Double Dash
Get
my
his
first one.
ass. Get his ass, Jess.
I mean,
Okay,
no, I'm like also a millennial, so I'm just like,
hell
yeah, that was
yeah.
our childhood, so I get it.
I actually looked this up at one point. I don't know why. Apparently, the month I was born was the last month that millennials were made, and everyone after that is a Gen Z, so or
Yeah.
whatever the new gen
Which
is.
I think that means that you never get to own a house because you're eating too much avocado toast. So congrats on that.
Yeah, except
You
swap
seem
avocado
thrilled.
toast.
Speaking of GameCube games, I have been going back to the GameCube. I
The
won't
best
say
one.
yeah, I won't say how, but I'm finally playing Wind Waker. I never played Wind Waker before.
Yay! That's my
Um,
favorite Zelda game.
Same.
I never owned a GameCube, and when I owned a Wii, that was a time when I didn't know enough about the industry, and I wasn't old enough to have the internet to know that I could play GameCube games on the Wii. So I just never knew that that was like an option. I've been going back. I've been playing the better version of Wind Waker. You might say, "Hey, does that mean that you're
Oh,
does that mean that you're
shut
playing the
up.
Wii U version?" And I'd say,
Shut shut the fuck
mm,
up. It's right here. This is the better version. Buy a Wii U.
um, but I'm playing a GameCube Wii U, a slightly modified GameCube, or GameCube Wind Waker, and that game's delightful. That game is like so bright and colorful in a way that like it does not feel like you get like big AAA games like that anymore. Even compared to Breath of the Wild, there's like a earnestness and an optimism to it that I really love. And basically, whenever I'm playing anything else, I'm thinking about, hey, I wish I was playing Wind Waker right now.
I remember
Wind
I
Waker.
wanted to be just like Link when I grew up.
There's
Same,
a there's,
same.
there's an even better segue we missed out on. I got my GameCube with Mario Kart Double Dash, and the second disc I got was the Zelda
Collection?
Collector's Disc, I think it
Yeah,
was called.
collection.
And it was
Uh-huh.
like the first four, or no, it was the first two games, and then the two N64 ones, and then it was like a demo of Wind Waker. And I remember playing like it was like three sections. I believe it was the volcano from Dragon Roost Island, the jail
Yeah.
bit, which I love. I still love the jail bit, and then the opening maybe. But how far into are you Wind Waker
I
Wind Waker, if I should
I
ask?
literally I just left the jail and I just got my ship. I'm getting the sail for my ship, so I haven't even done any sailing yet. I am
Okay, so you're not far enough into it to say that the GameCube version is better. Because oh boy,
so
just wait.
Scott, I am playing a better version of the GameCube version.
Oh, right. You're
Okay, yeah,
playing an
yeah.
illegal version. That's our Switch is broken. Nintendo gonna
We were doing so well
shut
at
down the
avoiding it.
website.
We were doing so well at dancing around.
Illegal.
And
Illegal.
how did you play Mario Kart, Scott? I learned it from
Uh,
watching you, Dad.
excuse me. I have right here on my Nintendo Switch. Oh shit, that's Donkey Kong Country. They're all right there. All the ones that matter. There's a Wii. I've got the Wii and GameCube NSO early. No one. Don't ask how I got it.
Yeah. So
Nintendo likes me enough.
that's not the only game I've been playing. I've also been using the same device that I've been using to play Wind Waker to play Jeanne d'Arc. Have either of you ever heard of this or played it?
The GameCube had Jeanne d'Arc.
It's only heard of the historical figure.
So
Yeah, it's the same thing.
literally, this is a PSP game developed by Level 5, and
Yeah.
the setup is you play as Joan of Arc, and it is a tactical role-playing game where the English are invading France and they have like demons on their side, and then the combat is basically Final Fantasy Tactics.
Interesting. Okay.
It is really cool. It has such a cool vibe. This game is wild to me because it is like basically a retelling of the story of Joan of Arc, but it never came out in Europe. It only came out in the US and Japan.
Oh.
Which is really weird to me if you're going to make a game that is all about Joan of Arc to then not release it in France or Europe. But it is like really beautiful. Its cutscenes are, they feel a lot like the level 5 cutscenes that they did for Ni no Kuni for the first one. And they obviously didn't get like Studio Ghibli for them, but they are that level of anime quality. And then when you get into the actual gameplay, it's just a really good strategy RPG. And like it's not too complicated. It's very easy to drop in and out of and like do a couple of missions and move on to the next town or city and then like put it away. It's a really good like traveling on the bus kind of game.
The
Yeah.
it did come out in Europe because I believe they just put it on PS Plus like a year ago or
Huh.
something.
Maybe it just came
Yes,
out later.
so yes, that's the thing, is it finally came to Europe when it went on to PlayStation Plus as part of their classics collection, and that was
I
last
have it
year.
downloaded to my
Yeah.
PS5, but I've
Um,
not started it
I
yet.
I would super recommend checking it out if you have it, or even it's like it's only $10 to buy it standalone on the PlayStation
Oh.
Store, and it's like it is a 30-hour RPG. It has a really unique setting. You're killing the English. It has everything you could want.
You know
It's
what's
really
really
cool.
fun? Not the only tactical RPG classic featuring real people. One codename Steam for the Nintendo
Oh,
3DS, starring Will Wheaton from
was
The
was
Big
that
Bang Theory.
was that level 5 or was that Game Freak?
That was whoever makes Intelligent Systems,
Intelligent
because
Systems,
you
right?
could use your Fire Emblem amiibo to get Ike and codename Steam.
Yeah,
That may be why I bought an Ike amiibo, because I was so dead set on getting codename Steam. I never played it,
yeah.
but that game demo was fine.
Yeah, I've been playing a lot of games with real historical figures, with mythologized versions of historical figures. I've been playing Tainted Grail: Fall of Avalon, as well. This is the last game I played this week.
And the Wind Waker.
Yeah, that Link, real guy, real dude
Robin
who existed.
Williams, real dude.
But Tainted Grail is based off of Arthurian legend, so it's like King Arthur and Knights of the Round Table and all of this, but it's like a grim dark world. I reviewed this for Shack News, so you can check out my review there. I super did not like this game. It is basically, the best way to describe it is you wake up in a jail cell and then someone helps you escape from the jail, by which and through that what I mean is it's basically just Oblivion. It is a game for people who kind of want a new Oblivion. So I'm guessing they're really pissed that Oblivion Remastered came out a couple of months before they released. It has a lot of those Oblivion Skyrim style leveling mechanics where you level up by just doing the thing. So if you jump everywhere, you'll level up your endurance and stuff. But the thing that I super don't like about it is that despite it being set around Arthurian legend and English folklore, the game itself takes place outside of the English region of the world, which is called Camelot in its universe. It takes place in the southern part of the world, which is ostensibly just a stand-in for Ireland. It is all Celtic characters. It's Irish names. It's Celtic names. It's a lot of like things that resemble banshees, things like that. There's druids, all that stuff. And I super didn't like how it represented these things. Mainly because every single character in the game is voiced by either an English person or an American person. Which is super weird when they have names like Odrin, or Killian
I
or something.
I often wonder this, and I don't know if it's just because we're Scottish and Irish, but it's like instant. I can tell when they've got someone who is not Scottish doing the Scottish voice.
Yeah, and
Like,
there's a couple of instances where I'm listening to it and I'm going, okay, you definitely told the voice actor Celtic, but the voice actor is one, not Celtic, and two, is doing a very like fake Scottish accent, if you know what I
Mm.
mean.
For
And
for a game that did it so well, Metaphor, I cannot remember the name of the first boss, but like the necromancer guy.
yeah,
Jesus Christ, that is the worst Scottish accent I've ever heard. And every other accent in that game is so on point that that is like, what the fuck were they doing?
um, but I
Sorry.
found the game itself is really weird because it takes all these ideas from Irish folklore and Irish mythology. And even like, there's a character named Nullig, which, if you know a bit of Irish, Nullig means Christmas. And that character lives in the snowy region, which, one, bit on the nose, guys, and two, doesn't make any sense in the game's universe because they are very explicit in the fact that, like, oh no, there's no like Christianity or anything that the Crusades were done over. It's a fake religion. It's a fake made up religion. So it makes no sense that anyone would name their child Christmas or Nullig. And so there's a lot of stuff like that where I'm just like, you just didn't do the legwork in a way that I think they like probably should have if they were going to crib this much from Irish culture and Irish mythology. And then on top of that, like, it doesn't come up much in their marketing materials, which I find weird. The amount that it talks about, like, oh, this is Arthurian legend, but like none of the game takes place in their fake England of this universe because it's based off a tabletop game, I should say. Tainted Grail is a pre-established tabletop universe, and there's already been one game in this universe. So I don't know. It also, like, ultimately at the end of the day, it's another one of those. You get missions from someone who tells you to go to a place, kill a thing, pick up the thing off their body, and then come back to you, and that's a lot of it. Um, it's it's just very roche. It's very ho hum. I gave it a 5 out of 10, which was probably generous because that game crashed a lot, and they sent us over a thing beforehand being like, "Hey, just we're working on the crashes." And now I look at the game subreddit, and there seems to be people being like, "Hey, the crashes are getting worse with each patch." So, if anything, I was maybe too nice to that game. The final game we'll talk about here this week, Jess, you have been playing Coffee Talk Tokyo. I'm super curious about this game because I played what was the game, the other game from that studio that released this year. Tell me a bit about Coffee Talk Tokyo.
Well, so there's Coffee Talk, the original, then Coffee Talk 2, Hibiscus and Butterfly before it. So this is the third one in the series, but it's supposed to be a spin-off, unlike the other two, which I think are supposed to be same place, same protagonist, and reoccurring characters. This one is a totally different shop, in a different setting. So what I think, like, this is just a demo, so it's just the first taste that we're seeing of it.
It's not
So
out yet.
far,
Is it?
no, it's not
Oh,
out
okay,
yet.
okay.
It's just the demos. Um, but I did want to take a look, especially since I just been to Japan to see how it's like. Um, it's similar in, you know, similar premise to the others, where it's like you have a like a late night cafe in Tokyo, and there's people with like there's mythical creatures and people who are figuring themselves out who are visiting your shop. Um, I don't actually think there's that many things in the intro, at least, that give me the vibe that this can only happen in Tokyo. There are people with like, Japanese names, and there's a few things introduced, like, there's um hojicha, which is like roasted green tea, and like there's a stencil of like um I forget what it is. There's like the arcs that's in the beginning of the shrine where like you can do stencils now, which might help with decorating drinks because I've always been awful at drawing them by hand on the computer. Um, so I think it's similar enough to the other games where it's like, okay, you get to know each of these characters one by one, you make them drinks, you start to unravel each of their stories, like what's going on with their life. And you help them a little bit because you're kind of like, I guess it's kind of like you talk them through their problems,
Yeah,
and maybe some of them are more connected, but
I'm
yeah.
super curious about this because it seems to be Mohammed Fahmy was the developer on the first two, correct? And
Yes.
he passed away, and Afterlove EP was finished by some of the team that worked on Coffee Talk, I think, which was going to be his follow up to Coffee Talk. So I think this is the first game in that series without his involvement. So I'm curious how the fans of the games and the series react to it, considering he was such a visible figure in those games developments. I didn't realize that this was coming out. This looks
It looks
Me
like it's
either.
a different
I just found out
developer
about it recently too. So,
yeah,
and
um,
it's the same
looking on
publisher.
Steam.
It's Toge
yeah,
Productions. And I know that Toge were very heavily involved with the original two Coffee Talks and even supporting Afterlove. So yeah, I'm super curious about the lineage of that. I'll have to look into that later.
yeah. I am curious about how they'll incorporate certain things because, like, I mean, there's some things that stand out to me. Like, for example, one of the characters that was not in the demo is a salary man, and there's and a kappa, which is like there's Japanese mythological creatures in there, and then salary man is kind of like, um, it's like a big stereotype where you're just like, uh, an overworked person in a suit, like in a building, like that kind of
Yeah.
vibe where it's like, uh, I'm wondering how that's gonna turn out. Like how they're going to incorporate the culture in there.
Yeah, I'm super curious because like those games have done so well because they feel super authentic. So I'm curious if they are trying to do it of like, oh, we're in a different location. Bringing that authenticness to that location is something that might be tough. Scott, you just added something in here last minute to our
Yeah,
other
I didn't
show.
realize my mic was still on, so you probably heard a lot of
Oh,
typing there. Yeah, just quickly as we're recording this, Elden Ring Night Range just come out, and in the 45 minutes it's been out, it's already at just under 300,000 people on Steam,
That's
which is kind
wild.
of nuts.
That is
oh,
wild.
damn.
Um,
286,000 is where it's at currently.
that is ridiculous.
Are either
Well,
of you interested in Night Rain at all?
so here's where
Honestly, go
Jesse, you
ahead.
go, you go. Um,
Oh no, I was just going to say like I haven't played Elden Ring actually. Um, all I remember from Night Rain as of recently is the reel that Tom Caswell had on Instagram, where it's like it doesn't have crossplay.
yeah.
Doesn't it? Fucking
It
hell.
doesn't have crossplay, which kind of seems to be a symptom of this being FromSoft's first persistent multiplayer thing in a lot of ways.
Mm,
A lot of when you look at like Elden Ring and Dark Souls multiplayer stuff, a lot of the best multiplayer stuff that's out there is mods that people have done after release, like the persistent world mods for the different Dark Souls. Um,
mm.
my status with Elden Ring is I enjoy it vicariously through my brother, because I loaded up that game and I played about 4 hours, and I was like, this is so much. I'm in final year of college. I can't do this right now. And then my brother proceeded to play through it like with 6 different characters, I think. Um, so I just ask him about stuff and he tells me about it, and then I watch lore videos and I'm like, I think I get this. Um, so yeah, that's how I enjoy my Night Rain, or my Elden Ring.
I'm in a weird spot with it, and I believe I'm gonna write something about this, so maybe I'll not blow it too much here. But like, I'm not a big multiplayer person, but also all of those games are very good. I like a lot of those games. I don't think I ever played them in multiplayer. I don't think I ever really felt like playing. So hearing this is like a weird kind of Fortnite kind of thing.
Huh.
It's strange, but I'm also like, maybe this could rock. I don't know. But yeah, no, I just saw that and figured I would read the room on how we feel about Night Rain. But
Yeah, I'm curious about it. I'm
you
super curious
two
how it does,
have
and
not
it
brought
seems
up.
like people actually are at least like people have bought the game, Like that is a paid
Mhm.
product, so they are at least selling copies of that game. Which yeah, that's kind of surprising because so many multiplayer games at the moment just aren't hitting. Speaking of things that aren't hitting, we're gonna get into the news. this first story from Rebecca Valentine at IGN. EA cancels Black Panther game, closes Cliffhanger Games. This is the third round of layoffs at EA this year. I thought it was only the second. Christ, it's the third. Bit of the story here. Electronic Arts is cancelling its planned Black Panther game and is shutting down developer Cliffhanger Games, IGN has learned. In an email sent to staff, EA Entertainment President Laura Millier said that these challenges, alongside other recent cancellations and layoffs, are being done to, quote, sharpen our focus and put our creative energies behind the most significant growth opportunities. That's why I love to put my creative energies, is into significant growth opportunities.
You mean like Marvel games? The most popular Marvel movie of the last however many years? That kind of growth opportunity?
There's a bunch more to this, but basically, it's an undisclosed number of layoffs. There's also been layoffs across some of its mobile and central teams. EA got out there as part of this thing and was saying like, hey, we are focusing on games like Apex Legends, what was it? Apex Legends, Battlefield, Sims, and Skate, which is a wild list when you think about it, because Apex
All the
Legends
warriors.
is a game that like isn't growing. Skate is a game that isn't out yet. Battlefield is a game that is only being played in alpha, and people seem to be very up and down on depending on the balance patches that come through. And Sims is kind of like the one thing there that seems pretty stable. That list also doesn't include other games which they have reassured us haven't been cancelled. They've said that BioWare's next Mass Effect game is still in production. The next Star Wars Jedi game is still in production, and the Iron Man game at Motive is still in production. Right before we went live, Rebecca Valentine updated her story saying that apparently EA this Black Panther game came from a 3-game deal between EA and Disney. Black Panther and Iron Man were the two that were known about. Apparently, EA still has 3 games in development. It has Iron Man and now 2 unknown games in development. I don't even know where those would be.
Disney or Marvel?
Marvel, sorry. I don't even know where those would be in development at EA and what teams would be taking them. Because, like, DICE is full focused on Battlefield as far as I know. There's no one at DICE not working on Battlefield, and Respawn just had a bunch of layoffs, so it's no one at Respawn. And EA Sports is pretty much a island unto itself. Like they don't cross paths.
I want to say like Criterion and all that got shifted onto Battlefield 2, like Motive and Criterion.
Yeah, that's the other thing worth noting is Criterion were recently acquired by EA, and in that acquisition, they announced that they are no longer making their rally games.
That's Codemasters you're thinking of.
Yes, sorry, Codemasters. So that's another element to this, is EA really seems to be slimming down what it is working on in a serious manner and is cutting back on the franchises that it's seeking to grow.
To be fair in that one, they pretty much bought out that entire company just for F1, I believe.
Yeah.
Like just for the license. So that's not as surprising. But I'm pretty sure there's like 6 other studios. The Dead Space people, I don't remember who that was.
Dead Space
They're
were
working on
Motive.
Battlefield. Motive. They're working on Battlefield as well.
They're working on Battlefield and Iron Man.
Iron Man, which was announced how many years ago, and we've seen.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the other thing to this. I talked a bit about this on Game Mess Mornings with Grub. EA seems, and Grub described it pretty well, he was like, EA feels like a schizophrenic company at this point. Because every 3 to 4 years, its plan and its direction completely changes. Because I distinctly remember 2 years ago when I was on a Game Mess Mornings with Jeff Grubb, we were talking about how EA had an investor call and they were like, we're betting big on licensed games. We don't want to cultivate our own IP anymore because that's expensive and it's risky. So we are going to get pre-established licenses, and that way we'll have a built-in fan base. And then recently, in their most recent investor calls, they have stepped away from that and they've been like, we don't want to do licensed IP anymore because we don't get 100% of the profits and we're going to build our own IP. I don't know where EA goes from here. Apex
Just all
isn't
in
growing.
sports.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is like, is it just the EA Sports thing? Because EA Sports Publishing is a separate publishing wing. EA Publishing and EA Sports Publishing are two separate companies.
Well, if we go back to that list they just had, Battlefield, that's going to be hit or miss because the last three Battlefields people have absolutely hated, whether that's for good reasons or not. In terms of that World War II one, but I don't remember the one after that, but I remember people did not like
There
it.
was the one that was like Battlefield
20
2049.
something, yeah.
Yeah.
The Sims, which has not had a game in 12 or so years. I know they went free to play and they cancelled The Sims 5. So, you know, that relies on that fan base keeping with this old ass game for that long. And then, as you said, Skate, not out yet. Don't know when it's coming out. Apex Legends has been dwindling
And when you put it
somewhat.
like that, their language is really weird of them being like, we're looking to find growth markets and, growth opportunities. And the four things that they have listed are either things that very well might not hit, or things that are kind of in a sustenance mode. They're kind of in a maintaining phase. Yeah, I
I
don't know
know
what's
that
next for
the
EA.
last FIFA did not do as well as they'd
Yeah.
hoped either, but also in the same vein, college football was like the best selling game of last year in
College
America
football
or something
was,
like that.
one of the best selling games across the globe, but most of those sales came in America, um, which is wild. And yeah, that FIFA game was the first FIFA game without the FIFA license. It was EA Sports FC or whatever. Second.
Second one. Yeah.
But that seems like something that is a problem that they're gonna have to deal with, is not having that license.
Because now FIFA's going with 2K?
They signed a deal
FIFA,
with someone, but like also
yeah.
you have to remember FIFA at some point were out there saying like, we're gonna make our own game. And it's like, okay, FIFA, you clearly understand game development. Yeah, I don't know. Jess, are there any EA games that would like get you interested in EA's output again? Is there anything that they could do to
Sorry, just to interrupt, it's Konami. Konami, who have
Konami?
been
Yeah,
doing the
I was
great
trying to
eFootball series.
yeah.
I was trying to remember what's the last EA game I even played, and I was like, was Spyro EA?
Spyro was Activision.
Activision, yeah.
Mirror's Edge.
No,
Did you play Mirror's Edge?
I did not.
Mirror's Edge was 20 years ago.
Yeah, Mirror's Edge
I
was like
might,
almost 20 years ago. That's wild.
but yeah, I don't even remember the last time I've played an EA game,
Yeah.
honestly. I don't know. I feel like maybe the problem is like I feel like lots of companies they're just like we want to make a popular thing, just like the other popular thing that we know exists, but then they do it and it doesn't work out because I don't
The
know. I guess
popular the
it's
popular
not
thing
yeah.
already exists,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
The
kind of
Call of
hard like
Duty-ification of Battlefield is what killed Battlefield. Battlefield was a contender, and then they were like, "Oh, that Call of Duty though." Anyway,
And like they also
sorry.
had their whole Medal of Honor thing where they were like, we want to do a more small scale military game, so we're gonna do these two really bad Medal of Honor games that are like modern reboots and have the most like fucking MAGA ass looking characters on the box. Yeah, I don't know what's next for EA. And like I'm curious what Skate winds up being, and I'm assuming Skate is gonna show up next week at Summer Games Fest.
Did you not play Dragon Age, Jess?
I actually did not. I did a preview, but like I haven't I don't have that much history with the series, so I was like, I'm not
I
that invested.
I played Dragon Age: The Veilguard. I like that game. I think it's like knowing some of the behind the stuff that I've heard about that game. Like that game's a fucking miracle that it like even boots up is like wild. The fact that they managed to construct like a coherent game and parts of it are actually pretty interesting. I think is pretty good. But if I were that BioWare team, I would be super concerned because like they had their teams slashed, they've had their budget slashed, they're now being asked to make a Mass Effect game, which is like probably going to be bigger in scope than that Dragon Age game. I don't know how you pull that one out of the bag. Like I don't know how you make a new Mass Effect in 2020 2027 or 2028, whenever that comes out.
Oh, actually, I did remember. I probably the last EA game I played was The Sims.
Yeah.
But that was like I didn't even play the latest Sims. I played one from like that was still on the GBA. I remember like I don't know. I remember getting lost in the woods and my Sim peed herself and I got arrested.
Was
I
it
mean,
was
that's
it
just
the
realistic.
Herbs?
Yeah, that's just realistic.
Yeah.
Does anyone remember the Herbs?
Yeah, I
The
was
weird Sims
Scott.
spin-off.
I was posting about the herb Sims in the city literally 12 hours
Hell
ago.
yeah.
There is a skeet on my blue sky right now about herbs, Sims in the city. I
I
have
was
no.
also interested. The last game I played from EA was those Star Wars games.
Yeah,
The
and
Respawn ones.
yeah, those games are super solid. Those games are really pretty solid. Moving on, there's no good segue for this one. Persona 4 voice actor confirms a remake is in
Speaking of
development.
RPGs,
There we go.
Yeah.
After not being cast, this is by Ed Nightingale at Eurogamer. A voice actor from Persona 4 has confirmed the rumored remake is indeed in development. Yuri Lowenthal, who is known as the voice of Spider-Man in the Insomniac games, was the voice of Yosuke in the original release of Persona 4 back in 2008, as well as the protagonist in Persona 3. I didn't realize he was the protagonist in Persona 3.
I mean,
That's
it was
crazy.
like
I didn't know
There
that.
was
just like yes and all that.
yeah. In a new post on social media, the actor stated that he won't be returning for the Persona 4 remake, despite the fact that Atlas itself hasn't confirmed the game's existence. This is him on I think it was Twitter that he said this. And for
Blue
those,
Sky.
was it Blue
Yeah.
Sky? Okay. And for those who keep asking me, no, I will not be returning as Yosuke in Persona 4 remake. He wrote, I asked, maybe I even begged, but they didn't want me to come back. That tweet or that skeet has now been taken down. Erin Fitzgerald, who was the voice of Chie, has also said something on social media saying, for those asking, I have not been asked to reprise my role as Chie in the Persona 4 remake. RIP, crying emoji, crying emoji, crying emoji. I'm blessed to have recorded as many Persona 4 games as I did playing her. I talked this out with Grub on Game S Mornings today, and I think the main reason they're doing this is like a number of factors. They recast those Persona 3 voice actors because, let's just say, there's certain voice actors they didn't want to work with again for very good reasons in the Persona 3 cast.
Yeah.
And that new cast was received quite well. And I'm sure if you're Sega, you're looking at how much the new voice cast for Persona 3 cost, and you're looking at how much bringing back all the voice cast for Persona 4 would cost. Like, Yuri Lowenthal, Troy Baker are big names now, and you're going, let's just recast this one too, and then we'll have cheaper voice actors to work with for any spin-offs that we want to do in the future. And, like, we talked about it earlier, but Persona 5 The Phantom X is a gacha game. So there is almost those characters are guaranteed to show up in some event. At some point they will do a Persona 4 season or Persona 4, group of characters, and they'll be like, we want the Persona 4 characters, and having cheaper voice actors to do those lines will make sense in the long run. Like, it is super expensive to get guys like Troy Baker back in the booth every time you want to do something. And honestly, I don't have like too much of a problem with this. I know some people were super upset about it, but like,
I just think it's a very weird like situation in general. Like,
yeah, the fact that it came
obviously
out
we've been
through the
hearing
voice
about
actor
it.
is
Yeah.
weird.
But then everyone has just been like, yeah, by the way, this is happening. Also, I'm not like, it's strange. Also, Yuri Lowenthal, who was in Joan d'Arc and also Ace Combat Zero. There we go. There's our
gets
segue.
around.
We should put this first. Yeah, just very, very strange choice or very strange thing for these both voice actors to do.
I mean, I think that to me it looks like it was an honest mistake, and then he was like, "Well, I'm not sure if what I should do now."
Because, like,
I-
honestly, I could believe that because people are like, oh, they're in the industry, they should know. But I can totally buy if you were a voice actor and you were doing a million different voices for a million different games, and you see one of the rumored news stories on scrolling on your phone, you'd just be like, "Oh, they confirmed that." You wouldn't click the story and like go through and see that, hey, it
I
hasn't been confirmed. I can
I
see
feel
a
like
world where that
Yuri
happens.
Lowenthal though, like
Yeah.
someone as prolific and in every single game known to man as Yuri Lowenthal probably would not be the type to do that. But I mean, Chie's voice actress clearly done it, and like, you know what? Fuck it, it's out now. Let's go.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, they brought. I want to say they brought back some of the cast of Persona 3
No, they were
to
all.
play
It
like
was all new.
no, but to
Oh,
play like different
different characters.
characters.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Which, like, from a casting point as well, I get it. If you were a casting director, you're probably looking at Yuri Lowenthal and you're going, "This guy is 45, pushing on 50s. Like, this guy's mid 40s, and we're gonna get him to voice a
This man
16-year
is
old?
mid-50s.
Is he mid
Yuri
50s?
Lowenthal is
Yeah,
54.
yeah, but like the
Oh
idea of
wow.
getting a 54-year-old guy to voice a 16-year-old is super weird. Like, I get it; it's his job to be able to
I
change
mean,
his
he
voice
does a
and
good
stuff.
job as,
Well,
Spider-Man.
I want. How old was he when he did the original Yosuke voice? Probably 30 something, right?
Yeah, he would have been like
When was
35.
Persona 4? Like 15
2008.
years
Yeah.
ago?
Yeah, 2000.
2008?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm.
Mm.
So like it would have been a while ago, but I can see those reasons adding up. If you were Atlas and you have a list of bullet points and you're like, well, maybe it's just fucking easier to get new people. Like at that point, I think they might just go fuck it.
I'm a bit worried about this one because I didn't play Persona 3 much, and also, yeah, aforementioned bad voice actor in Persona 3 didn't care as much. I fucking love Persona 4. I love the voice cast for Persona 4. Gonna be real weird not hearing the voice
I
cast of Persona 4.
I think so. Persona 3, another part of that remake was that they kind of changed some of the content that was in there, because it
Mhm.
was pretty dated. One scene in particular is the scene that they changed, and it's the beach scene. I've talked about this on
Yeah,
on social media before, but like that scene desperately needed to be changed. Um, and there is a lot more of that stuff in Persona 4
I
that could
cannot
do with being
wait
updated. Um,
to hear people talk about Persona 4 again. I definitely, I'm not dreading it on a Last of Us 2 discourse scale.
yeah.
Oof.
But I again, as one of those things that adds up in the minds of people who are in charge of casting, I'm sure they're going, well, if we're rewriting all of Yosuke, we should like treat him as a new character. We should treat him as this is a different interpretation of the character. Let's just get a new
Mm.
voice actor. I think that might be an element of it as well. Jess, have you played Persona 4? Do you have any strong feelings on
Oh
this?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I have played Persona 4. I do like I enjoyed the old like the original voice actors, but I'm not the kind of person who's gonna be like, no, it has to be the originals or bust.
Yeah.
Like if it's if they're also good, then I have no problem with that. Like if they're just good but different, that's fine. You know, it might be, I'll miss it a little bit, I guess, but
I
I
mean,
don't even know what the new voices are gonna sound like, so I
Yeah.
can't
it's
really be
gonna
mad
be
about it
Alex
yet.
Lee, isn't it?
The,
I know he played the protagonist in Persona 3, and that would be like actually really funny if they took both of
Yeah.
his roles. But Alex Lee as Yosuke seems like a very good fit.
yeah.
I
And
do see that. I see that actually.
Um,
um,
I'm super curious if this shows up next week at Summer Games Fest. It totally seems
well, it
like
has to
something.
at this point.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it seems like something that would show a teaser at Jeff Keighley's thing, and then they'd show more of at Xbox. Because those marketing deals with Sega and Xbox have
Well,
been
they'll
going pretty well.
probably not show it at Keely's thing, and then the next day someone will post it on Instagram,
Oh,
and
totally.
then
Yeah,
it'll
it will
get
get
posted.
leaked. It will get if we
Um,
know anything about Sega and Atlas and Persona announcements, it will get
Although to
leaked.
be fair, that year that Persona 3 and Tactical leaked, Metaphor didn't,
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
and that was the same show. So maybe Persona 4 leaks and we get Persona 6 or
That'd be really
Devil
funny if
Summoner
they
3.
just started like false flagging different games of like, no, this is a purposeful leak, and then the one that we actually don't want to leak, we're gonna keep better hidden.
They
Um,
should they should have just they should just do what they did with Persona 5 and like just throw out like random dates, like coming 2013 to PS3 or whatever it said for Persona 5. Just do that again. Like,
It's so wild to me that Persona 5 is like a PS3 game in a lot of ways. Like,
yeah.
it's so wild that that is still technically a
I know
PS3 game.
I know
It's
they've
like
been
when people
milking
say
Persona
Yakuza
4.
0 is a PS3 game. Like, Yakuza 0 is technically a
That
PS3
that
game.
wasn't canon to here though. That never came out here.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, it's weird that those Persona games take so long to make because when you think back to, oh shit, we got Persona 3 and Persona 4 like back to back years, and then Persona 5 was like 10 years,
Yeah,
and
and
it's
also,
gonna
like,
be
it kind of seems like all the other parts of Atlas fire off games really frequently. Like, there has been a lot
yeah.
of Atlas games recently, so it's weird that the Persona. I mean, I get it. They want to take their time with their flagship game, um, but yeah, it seems like the mainline games seem to take inordinate
They
hairy.
still haven't made another fucking fighting game. That Persona 4 one was so good.
I mean,
They
Arxis are
never
probably busy, you know.
don't care.
So, moving on, someone's unboxing a Switch 2 but claims it needs a day one patch to work. This comes from Ethan Gach at Kotaku. Switch 2 hardware appears to be officially out in the wild, but it doesn't sound like anyone will be able to play the console early. A day one patch is needed for it to fully work, according to someone who has uploaded their brief unboxing video to YouTube. The video, published by a user named Dubai, is simply titled Nintendo Switch 2 Unboxing and is less than 8 seconds long. It shows an apparent Switch 2 box sitting on a table next to the existing Switch. There's other parts of this. A more detailed video has gone up now
Mhm.
of a Russian guy booting up the thing and looking around in the menus. He can't like load up any of the apps because it asks to download a patch. But I guess there's confirmation that there's still only two themes, night and day. You can only have your light theme or your dark theme, which is really funny. But only Nintendo would be this fucking paranoid about like their consoles getting out there in the wild, and also only Nintendo consoles would get out there in the wild this early because people are looking to try to get them out there in the wild this early. I suppose the only question here, because like there's no news story to this, no one can play anything, no one can learn anything from this. The only question that I have is, do you think this gets in the hands of someone who is able to hack their way to being able to play stuff on this before release? Do you think we see a game running on a Switch 2 before release?
Probably not.
Sure.
I
I don't know enough about cybersecurity to know how likely that would work.
Yeah.
Because it does need the day one patch, and I'm just like, well, I don't know how that would be like I'm not really sure about the components that distribute that, but it's more than just hardware.
Yeah, yeah. You couldn't just work around it on a hardware level. You would have to at some point deal with the software.
I
So
mean, I believe the Elden Ring is now over 300,000, sorry. I believe the Switch 1 getting hacked so easily was because of the chip they used. It was a
yeah,
hardware thing because that was a
Uh,
similar chip they used in the Nvidia Shield?
yeah.
Was
And
that was
let
that what it
let
was
me
called?
tell you, Nintendo really took the Switch being hacked the way it was too
Mhm.
harsh. They have not been happy about that in a real big way.
So I
And like,
reckon that's probably why they've done this
yeah.
time.
Um,
But
I can see that thing taking a lot long. Like, people will eventually crack it open because Nintendo's the biggest thing, and everyone tries to crack
yeah.
Nintendo things first. It's why there's like Nintendo emulation, but not Xbox emulation for a lot of consoles. But
I mean, I don't think either of us have the insider info on this, so let's just talk about it. They're not sending out switches to the press because of this reason. Like,
oh yeah,
so we knew about this day one patch from I can't remember who it was. Was a game developer that broke it?
game developer ran the story of press being like,
Yeah,
"Hey, we aren't getting consoles."
we
The reason press aren't getting consoles is because like Nintendo are holding press events that they're inviting people to play the
hmm,
games for review, um which again I think is like a
I
super shitty thing to do to your third party partners. I
yeah,
think if
that's what I
you're
was gonna bring up.
I think if
Like,
you're Capcom and you put out Kunitsugame for a second time, and for a second time no one's gonna cover it, because they haven't had a console for a week and a half.
Capcom has like 3 games.
3 games.
Sega has like 4.
Yeah,
Bandai Namco has 2 or 3, I
yeah.
think. Like,
And Square Enix has
then there's
just flying,
fucking
just
Cyberpunk.
yeah. Um,
Like, that's kind of when you think about like, okay, I'm very interested in how Cyberpunk is going to run on a Switch 2, and on day one, when people get those switches in, I mean, again, I don't know what I've not heard about any events, but I'm sure they're having them. Like, on day one, the people who didn't go to these events who are reviewing Switch 2 stuff, they're reviewing Mario Kart. They're
yeah,
playing Mario Kart for the next like 4 days, you know? So
yeah,
by the time people get to Cyberpunk and Street Fighter and like, I don't know, Sonic X Shadow Generations, um, it'll be like 2 weeks out
yeah.
anyway. That's
And
the kind of
it
biggest thing with us.
it I said it to someone else, but like Nintendo feels kind of like it's in its Sony PS3 arrogance era, where they were just like, we can do no wrong, we're on top of the world, like if we say jump everyone will say how high. Which last time
That's
led to
what that is.
which last time led to a Wii U, but I think that like their
If
market,
anything, this is the PS5 era where, they're just like, let's
yeah,
just
that
have it.
they're like, let's just do it again and make all the money. But yeah, it's a weird situation. It's going to be a weird console launch because Summer Games Fest is also on next week. Jess, you're going to Summer Games Fest, right?
I'm not
Oh,
because
you're not.
I
You're not. Okay.
no.
Um.
I've thought about it, but like, like even just for the hangs, because I'm invited to the mix, but I did because I have my internship and I wasn't sure in advance about how that was gonna work.
Yeah.
I think honestly, it turns out that maybe I could have made it because my work from home days are Wednesday and Friday. But, it's still like it would have been a whole thing to set up, and basically it's just like if I don't think I'm gonna go, but if that changes for some reason, I'll let you know.
Do you have a Switch 2 pre-order?
I don't because it's one of those things where it's like I don't feel the need to buy a new console right away unless I'm covering it right away.
Yeah.
Like I didn't get the PS5 when it came out, and it actually took me so long to get the PS5 that when I got it, I was like, wait a second, I don't think I actually need this because everything that I wanted to play on this PS5 is now on the PC.
Yeah.
So then I just returned it because I was like, I'd rather have $500 right now than this PS5 that I'm not using.
Yeah, I mean that's smart. I kind of got swept up in the pre-order hype a little bit, as Scott, I think you did too. I mean, you
Oh,
would
for
have
the
got,
PS5, yeah.
yeah,
But
but
no, the Switch 2 was like even before that shit was announced, I was like, yeah, I am gonna be one of those people who is like, I've got one of these things. Please give me work.
yeah.
Um,
Scott,
but
if you were around, if you were in this industry like 10 years ago, you would have been someone going to like several stores during their midnight launches and buying multiple ones and bringing them into an office and being like, here, I
yeah,
bought all the
I
ones
would
for
have
the
bought
office.
the Wii U.
Oh, is
I
that
sh-
how it worked? I thought they don't order it beforehand or something.
Do they not
So
send
so
women with like 3DSs chained
chained
to
to
them?
them. Yeah, that's a famous one.
Oh.
So the way that like a lot of these things usually work is like Sony or Nintendo will send out one or two. Nice one. Will send out a couple of review units, but then at launch day
Oh,
they'll
okay.
be like, well, there's like 10 people in the office. We need a PS2 for everyone. So they'll send someone out to the midnight launch and be like, you go get the rest of them for everyone else in the office. And then we'll expense it on a company card or something. Um, but yeah, like this whole hype cycle has been so weird because they're not sending out review units. So usually when stuff like this is coming out, like you get a bit of a sense of how people are going to land on stuff. I've got none of that. I've got no vibe of where people.
I didn't even know Astrobot existed. I mean, I knew the IP existed, but I didn't know that Astro's Playroom game existed until I saw like I think it was the Quick Look or something like
Yeah,
that. They did like 2 weeks before launch. Like, stuff like that. Um, I did get a PS5 at launch, mainly because Demon Souls. And also I just kind of wanted to have it. But yeah, that's one of them where I'm like, in
I mean, there were
hindsight,
a lot of good games that were gonna be on it, you know, like Final Fantasy Remake was on it, so
Yeah.
like Returnal came out the first year, and then since then I don't think I've cared for. I like Spider, or no, I wanted to play Spider-Man 2, but that game was kind of ass. So since
Wow.
then, there's not really been anything.
Mhm.
Yeah. Speaking of Nintendo stuff, Scott, you put this in here. Ask the developer Volume 18 Mario Kart World. What is this? You tell me about this because I'm
So
not sure what this
Nintendo's
is.
been doing a bunch of like developer. Jesus, that spell was worse than I thought it'd be. Nintendo's done a lot of like developers interviews, and they just did a big one for Mario Kart World. And I honestly feel like this has done a better job of getting people excited, or at least me excited for Mario Kart World than that direct did. Um, so yeah, I kind of pulled a bunch of headlines here. Mario Kart World started as a Switch game in 2017, which, when you think about that, it's been, you know,
A long
8
time.
years.
Yeah.
Um, and they were they wouldn't call it Mario Kart 9 because they would only do that if they just made more stages. Just stuff like that. Like they very much talk about how this kind of came together and why they've done it the way they've done it. And it's more interesting than anything they have done about Mario Kart
That's
World so
on
far.
that whole Ask the Developer is on the Nintendo website, right?
Yes.
Yeah. That
Um,
those are always super interesting and are worth
this one's
reading.
in like a four-parter.
Yeah.
That's where they talked about like all the remixes they made. I think there's like 200 something songs they
Yeah.
remixed from like all
It's
the
the
Mario
closest
games.
that we get to the Ask Awata stuff, and
Hmm.
like, man, that stuff is still so good if you go back and read it and watch it. Like, if
I
only
bought that
Nintendo
book.
were that
I
open.
really liked that book.
Yeah.
That just kind of compiled a lot of them. Um, but yeah, this was more of a. Actually, I do have a headline here from Games Radar, but it's Izzy's. Um, For Mario Kart World, Nintendo had to dig out the oldest Mario lore, like dusty books in an ancient library. Does Mario, in fact, eat mushrooms? They had to ask Mario's new dad, Koizumi, who's kind of
Yeah.
been he's been like the
Kozu.
AGI Numa of the
Yeah.
Mario series recently. Um, so apparently, yes, Mario does eat the mushrooms. The other interesting tidbit that I don't have here is all these like stupid characters came about because someone drew a cow driving a car, and that's where all this came from. But this was I kind of just put this more in here to kind of same with the Summer Games Fest segment later on. I put in news. This is just more of a how are we feeling about Mario Kart World discussion that I kind of wanted to bring to the table.
I mean, I've played like 300 and something hours of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe on Switch. I know I'm kind of a special exception because of the reason why I played that so much, which I won't get into here. Um, but like I played the shit out of that game, and like I adore that game still. And yeah, I think like the idea of a bigger, different take on it, like this Mario Kart feels different in a way that a lot of the previous ones haven't. So I'm super curious about it. Uh,
Um,
Speaking of industry luminaries
I don't
like
want to talk about this guy.
Koizumi,
I don't want to talk about this
no, we're
guy.
gonna do it.
Get
Uh,
him away.
Borderlands 4 Randy Pitchford seeks to justify
The Magic
$80
Man.
real fans comment. This comes from Victoria Phillips Kennedy at Eurogamer. Earlier this week, Gearbox CEO Randy Pitchford made headlines. This was last week. When a comment he had made on social media started making the rounds online. The comment was in response to one potential Borderlands buyer who, in a post on Twitter, said, "This game better not be $80. Pitchford then gave a tone deaf reply saying real fans, quote unquote, would find a way to get their hands on a copy of the game no matter how much it cost. There was also other stuff in there about like how he used to buy games for $80 for the Genesis back in the day, and it's like, yeah, Randy, nothing has changed about the world or the economy since the 80s. the percentage income that we have to spend on video games and other stuff like that hasn't changed at all. Rent hasn't changed at all. Anyway, Pitchford's comment was met with a certain amount of backlash, and now the Gearbox head has shared another post in a bid to unmuddy the waters. This is Randy again. If you want the truth, he wrote, with an accompanying video from an earlier interview where he was asked about how much Borderlands 4 would cost. Here the Gearbox exec admitted he didn't actually know how much the game would cost. It's an interesting time, right? Pitchford said. On one level, we've got a competitive marketplace. The people who make these choices want to sell as many units as possible, and they want to be careful about people who are price sensitive. So there are some folks that don't want to see the price go up, even ones deciding who the price are. He went on to say that there are also other folks accepting the reality that game budgets are increasing and that there's tariffs for retail packaging to consider. All of this is to say, boy, I think Borderlands 3 is going to be $80.
You missed out the part where Devolver posted something donkey on him, and then he revealed that he knew what the price of meth was, while using some very specific meth terminology.
As you do, sorry,
my
as
kind of
Randy
take on
does.
this, as the Magic Man himself.
One of the first things I learned about Randy Pitchford was like I was searching his name because
Are we bringing it up?
I needed to write like I was like, why is Randy Pitchford so greasy? And it's like, good question, Google. I don't know why he's so greasy.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought we were bringing up the USB stick, but never mind.
No, let's not. Let's just leave that there. But like, Randy has.
I kind of want.
So like, I'll say this much: Randy has a history of saying the dumbest thing possible in the room, and it's kind of a miracle that he's still doing it now that he no longer is the person. Like, now that Gearbox is no longer independent. Gearbox is owned by Take-Two, so surely you would assume at some point that Take-Two can be like, hey, we're taking away the keys to your Twitter account, Randy. Maybe don't say dumb shit for a while. The other thing that I'll say as part of this is, I don't know anything about, like, the insides of Gearbox, but from bits and pieces that I've heard, like, it seems like a pretty supportive place to work. People seem to be pretty happy working there. The vibe I got when they were making that Borderlands movie was, oh good, Randy is in Hollywood and he's distracted with the movie and with the magic castle that he just bought. Now we can make the game without having to deal with that.
I don't know if this. I mean, it's a very obnoxious statement in the same vein of Robert Xbox's fucking. We have a system for you. It's called the Xbox Reset. It's like the same kind of energy, but I don't know if this feels worse just because those games fucking stink.
I mean, I like the Borderlands games. I see something in them, whether it be nostalgia or whatever. But I think you're right. Having a man who spent millions of dollars on a mansion to further his ambitions in the Magic community, tell us about, like, oh, you'll buy it if you're a real fan. That doesn't feel good. Like, no, I don't think you get to do that, Randy.
I guess.
Why don't you just get more money?
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
I've been saying that for years, to be fair. I'm glad someone else will call me.
We should just get more money. He's right.
I mean, I guess less than the. I mean, I think they fucking stink, but less than that and more in like. The only game so far to be $80 is Mario Kart World.
And
the next game
it is
will
worth
be GTA 5.
No. So, like, it is actually worth noting is Microsoft have gone out there
Oh,
and
yeah,
said they're going to
sorry.
start charging $80 for games starting this
Which-
winter.
That's another one. Like, okay, I can see someone spending $80. I don't love that Nintendo does this, right? But also, if anyone's fucking earned it, it's Nintendo. Like Mario Kart 8 is, I want to say, like the fucking fifth best-selling game of all time or something now.
Yeah,
You know,
it's
if
like
anyone, sorry.
no, I was going to say like $80 for Mario Kart or $80 for the next Borderlands, and it's kind of like, well, I think it's an easy choice for me there.
It's the same. Like, what has Microsoft released in the last like 10 years that you would genuinely say, yeah, I would pay a premium for that?
I think Microsoft's answer to that is, hey, Forza and Call of Duty. Like that's their
Yeah,
very those are the games that they can get away with
also
charging that much money for.
the company that has spent the last 10 years undervaluing
Yeah,
their
that's the other thing.
first party games by giving them basically for free with a subscription for the last however many years. I know they're like, oh yeah, $80 for fucking Starfield.
Yeah.
Like I think not for Fable.
Yeah.
But
It's a weird time.
like
I think you're going to see a lot more of this, of publishers and higher ups in studios trying to find ways to hint at, oh yeah, our game might cost more, so that they can test the waters and maybe make it so that it won't be as vicious a pushback when they do announce it, because they are going to announce it. Like the toothpaste is out of the tube.
I
we're
mean
not going
GTA is
back.
gonna be $80.
It could be more. Like, I am now at the point.
I don't think it will be. I think it's gonna be 80, but if you want to play GTA 6 a week early, $120. There you go.
Yeah, that's
Like
what I'm
fucking
thinking.
the new WWE game. I hate the like pay $20 extra for 3 days early access. The new WWE game was 7 days. Like they've been soft launch, and that's a Take Two joint. They've been soft launching this shit. GTA 5 or GTA 6 is gonna have the shittiest early access period, and it's gonna be like $40, and everyone's gonna pay for it.
Yeah. Final news story here. Summer Game Fest has over 60 exhibitioners. This came from the Summer Games Fest Threads account, I think. They said they have the most exhibitioners that they've had ever. Some of the notable inclusions here is a Nintendo Switch 2 logo, not a Nintendo logo, a Nintendo Switch 2 logo, which to me says there will be a trailer, there will be like a ad, not a trailer, an ad being like, buy yours today, it's on sale now. Like, and it will be 30 seconds and it'll be
So
between other things. Like, I don't
I
think there's
will
any Nintendo games at this show.
I will point out that the last time I can think of something similar like this was Game Awards 2018, which was the same day Smash Bros came out, and they announced that
Was that the
Joker.
year that Three Houses won Game of the like a Player's Voice?
No, that was the year after.
Oh, okay.
That was the year that Free Houses should have been up for Game of the Year, but they, for some
Mm.
reason, that was a bad year. They should have put Devil May Cry 5 out there too. But anyway, the year before, when Smash Bros came out, because Smash Bros was nominated for Game of the Year the year after, that's why I'm getting confused. They announced Joker for Smash at the Game Awards, so that is my only kind of like, maybe they will do something, but also, it could just be as simple as like, oh, by the way, Metroid Prime's coming out in like September. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't
like,
think
I
it'll be
don't
anything
think
like
it,
big.
especially considering like that direct is happening this month. They're doing another direct this
Mhm.
month. Yeah, I've had my ear to the ground a bit on this. It's interesting that there's so many partners for this show. But the word I've been hearing is like, outside of Canadians, not that many people are coming to the show, to come to show off their games in person. Like, they might be showing trailers, but it does seem like a knock-on effect of the current US regime is that a lot of international businesses are like, we're not sending
Yeah.
people. And like, I'm very much so, I would have been going this year if I didn't think that like I would get stopped at passport control because I have a passport that indicates that I'm trans. Like, I no longer feel safe making that travel commitment, and so I think you're gonna find a lot of people from Europe, especially, that won't be making that travel.
I mean, I do not have that, but even I'm like, yeah, no, I don't. It's a bit too.
Okay. So there's not a lot of people from Europe going this year then.
Yeah, and I think that you're also gonna get some of that from Japanese companies. I think they're gonna send less people. They'll still probably send some people, but like, I don't think they're gonna be sending the same size teams that they will. And I get the vibe that people are looking at Gamescom and going, "This is just a safer place to send our people as a business." Which are like the conversations that these businesses have. They look at stability of regions, and when you look at America and you look at news stories about people getting detained while entering or exiting the country, that is a very clear like this is not a safe place to send all workers. So I do think you're gonna have like less people from the foreign press. You're gonna have less people from foreign companies. Actually at the show. They'll show their games in showcases, but they won't be there. And I think that's super bad for the industry because having shows like this where people from around the world can meet and talk is super important. We knew that during the pandemic when we weren't getting it, and we could feel how isolated everyone was becoming, and the effects that that had. Yeah, it sucks. It really sucks.
I mean, last
Uh,
year was really fun. It would have been nice
yeah.
if it were like that again, but
Yeah.
Um, on a slightly lighter note, I kind of wanted to run down some of the names on here that I found a bit. I put this. I'm our newsman. If anyone's interested, put this on here just as more of a like, let's talk about what we're kind of expecting and all that. Um, Capcom's on here. I believe we'll see more Onimusha. Probably see the Switch ports.
oh, something that did stand out to me is like Kuro Games, the Wuthering Waves company is going to be there. I was like, but do they have something other than Wuthering Waves
Yeah.
that's coming? I don't even know at this point.
The big one that stuck out to me, funnily enough, was Enhance.
Yeah, I'm super.
Which is
I not gonna lie, most anticipated whatever enhancer showing, I will check it out. Like you make Tetris
Oh.
Effect, I will play whatever you do after that forever. Um, so yeah.
PlayStation as well, who I believe don't have anything announced for this year.
No, they have Ghost of Your Toy, so it's probably a trailer for that.
Oh Christ, yes,
Yeah.
so it is.
Oh.
Um, and then just the usual suspects, the Square Enixes in the world, the Bandai Namcos. I wonder if they'll show more of
Blumhouse
that.
are gonna be there, so I'm curious if we see a bit of that. Brandon Cronenberg, Half Mermaid game. Blumhouse also have a bunch of
Hmm.
other indie games on their label that I'd be curious about.
Um,
Is Konami on that list? I'm curious. I can't see it.
this is only round one.
Okay. I wouldn't be
Uh,
surprised if Konami is there and we see some Silent Hill.
well, I will say we've over the last however many years, all the Konami stuff has been in a PlayStation or Xbox showcase,
Yeah.
and I don't know if that's just because Jeff and Konami are not the best of pals.
Right. That
Because the
Konami won't
the
be.
Metal Gear
Yeah.
trailer for last year was at the Xbox showcase.
Konami won't be there. Never mind. My bad.
Yeah,
Konami might be at Gamescom, but they won't be there.
the Dot Emu, they have 3 games coming out right now, and none of them have dates.
They have that
Um,
Marvel Cosmic Invasion, right?
yes, Marvel Cosmic Invasion. They have their first new IP, which is Absolum, which I played some of earlier this year. That's really cool. That's like kind of a Hades thing. And then they've got Ninja Gaiden. I almost guarantee we're seeing probably all 3 of
Yeah,
those
I,
because
I I can guarantee you that one of those is definitely getting a release date. But yeah,
I mean Ninja Gaiden's coming out in summer,
yeah.
so
Um,
um, but yeah, this was just more of a what games are we hoping to see? What are we expecting? What are we kind of looking forward to over the next couple weeks? I think
I'm super
E3
curious
we
about
picked.
how that Persona 4 remake looks. I really want to see what that looks like.
Same.
Um, I'm all in on the Onimusha, the new one with
Yeah, that thing has trailered really well. That thing looks really cool.
why is his name? Oh, Toshiro Mifune. I know, obviously, it's not him doing the acting, but I think it's a bit
It's weird.
emblematic. I think it's weird, but it's also like that's a good way to give off, like to kind of set what you're going for. I think. I believe that's not the first time they've used them. I want to say the anime series we got a few years ago was also him as the face model. Um, but also been a fucking while since we've seen any Resident Evil, right?
Yeah, Resident Evil could show up. I
Yeah.
mean, there's been rumors that there is either Code Veronica or depending on who you listen to, the next Resident Evil is either Resident Evil 9, Resident Evil Code Veronica remake, or Resident Evil 0 remake. I could see any of those showing up.
Oh, and IO Interactive, who obviously it will just be for Mind's Eye, but also that was pretty weird that they just showed that exact same
Mind's
James
Eye
Bond
not's gonna
teaser.
fuck. If Mind's Eye shows up at that fucking thing, I'm gonna
Are
die.
you gonna look me in the eye and tell me that Mind's Eye is not the exact type of game that fucking Jeff Keighley would have at one of his shows?
You're right.
That is peak
That
Jeff Keighley bait.
that is a game that Leslie Benzie pays to get in that show. You are totally right. So yeah, that's some of the games. They're gonna announce more of these over the next few days. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It will be good to actually get like. It feels like we have very few dates for a lot of things this winter,
That's
and it
probably
now.
because of GTA, right?
Yeah, and it seems like everyone's gonna be like, okay, GTA isn't coming out this winter. Let the floodgates open. So, yeah,
Sega, hopefully a new Sonic game. Sonic Forces, not Forces. What was the last one?
no,
Frontiers.
no,
Sonic Frontiers
Frontiers,
2.
no. We don't need that. We don't need that.
I like Sonic. Where is he?
We should move on to our final segment. We have a quick mailbag from some of our fine patrons. If you didn't know, Rewinder has just launched our Patreon. You can also support us directly on our website. Our Patreon went up literally like a couple of hours ago, patreon.com/rewinder. That gets you access to the Discord and early access to the podcast, which I will be editing literally as soon as we get done here. We have 2 questions from the Discord this week. First one. Oh, I might you get the last one then. First one is from Kahan. Is the whole discourse around game keycards overblown when physical games have been shipping partially incomplete and requiring day one patches to be functional for years? I think yes and no. If you're not familiar with this, the game keycards are basically the versions of games where you get a physical keycard and it's just a permission to download the game onto your console and to play it when the keycard is in the console. I think that, yeah, we've been getting games like that for years. But I think like the problem from a preservation standpoint is pretty clear of it would be nice to have these physical things. It also seems like Nintendo is just being very stingy with the key cards themselves.
So there was a big Arc System Works leak, like all the Guilty Gear DLC characters got leaked, like the source code and all that shit. And somehow from that, people gleaned that apparently Nintendo was offering Game Key Card or the 64 gigabyte cards, and that's it.
Yeah.
So that's probably more the problem.
So that's the other problem, is they're not offering the smaller size key or cards, and the 64 gigabyte ones are really expensive. So I'm willing to bet Nintendo is using all the like 32 and 8 gigabyte ones for their own games. So that's probably part of the problem. I'm sure once supply evens out a bit and they don't need them all just for Mario Kart 8, they will start allowing third parties to buy those. But yeah, it seems like a weird limiter that they've put on it.
I'm in two minds about it, where I think they're better than the code in a box. Like, I think it's a far better alternative to that. But at the same time, it does fucking stink. But I mean, Doom the Dark Ages, I want to say was like an 80 megabyte file on PS5, the disc. So at least they're advertising it, I guess. You know, like.
Jess, do you care at all about physical media or having physical media?
I don't like having that many things in my apartment because, I don't like having a lot of physical things because it takes up space. But on the other hand, the fact that you could just lose that, like, I guess lose your game without any warning, or like, that one doesn't really settle well with me either. Like, I at least want to choose the opportunity to lose that game, not have it forced upon me.
Yeah. Second question here from Owen Waters, friend of the site. What supports do you have in place to make sure Scott doesn't destroy the site when you're not looking? I think you can tell from this episode, we clearly don't have enough.
I imposing Scott law on the website at all times. No one has elected me as such, but since Henry has died, it's all me. I'm
Yeah,
the
and
boss
you
now.
know, it was really sad that he died in that motorboating accident. But you know, we'll see him in the next life.
Yeah, I'm sure he'll be back. But I'm not that bad. I'm alright. I feel like I'm a pretty cool guy. I'm
I
actually
did,
not.
Scott, you said there was a third question, and then you put
Yeah,
in this
read that question. Read that question.
an interested constituent, Mr. McRae, your campaign seems to have the momentum of a runaway freight train. Why are you so popular? I wonder who could have written that.
That's a tough question, but
Yeah.
that's a fair one.
Or patrons ask the hard hitting questions.
What campaign? What's the campaign for?
Oh, that's a good question. What
I don't
campaign,
think that.
Scott?
The Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 campaign,
Yeah.
remastered in stores now.
That's as far as you got. Thank you for the questions, Discord. We will be
Oh,
getting more of those.
shows.
Yes, I opened it up. I'm on
I
top
thought we were
of this.
doing them at the start of the show.
No, we're doing them at the
You're
end. We're doing
We're
them
at
at
the
the
top
end.
of the dock.
Yeah, but we're
Okay.
doing them at the end. I'm on top of this. We have a special tier on our Discord and our Patreon called the store clerk tier. Remember, Be Kind Rewinder. These are the store clerks that go in there and rewind those tapes themselves. These are our gold tier patrons, and we want to give them a shout out. This week it is Owen Waters, Chris Haney, Jex, and Branford Hubbard. Thank you all for your gold tier sponsorship. And that's a podcast. Thank you all so much for joining us. Scott, are you up to anything for the next week? Will we see you on the side at all? Or are you too busy with Switch 2 stuff?
Are we doing that stream?
We might be doing a stream. We'll check out our Blue Sky.
Other than that, potentially have something in the works about Elden Ring Night Rain, but also that depends on
Yes, stuff. I am currently working on a thing about geopolitics and Rugby 25. So, you know, normal stuff. Jess, what are you up to at the moment? And where can people find you?
Well, my AAPI piece for GameSpot just published today, so you could go
Great.
look at that.
Yes.
That one is it's like a roundup of we asked some developers and professionals in the gaming industry to give their thoughts about AAPI representation right now. And then, you know, that's like just before the end of AAPI month. I usually write at least one thing for the month. And then I'm still busy. I'm still gonna be busy at my internship learning to code. But other than that, I'm still thinking about what other things I want to write about. Maybe I'll pop at a con during December, but we'll see.
Awesome. Thank you so much again for joining us, especially on short notice, and for making it work around your schedule. And to YouTube watchers, make sure to leave likes and comments and subscribes and all that good stuff.
Ring the bell.
Yeah,
Join the channel.
Can you still ring the bell? Is the bell still a thing on YouTube?
I don't fucking know.
Yeah.
I remember favorites.
No. Anyway, thank you all so much for joining us. That's been another podcast, and we will catch you next time.